All right, my first of many solos that I'm going to show you today is Nethril. If you want to do level 25 at least, and you want to do it in lifesteal, you do need to use the presets. He uses all of his skills on rounds 1 and 2, and then for round 3, you actually block out his A2 and his A3. He just uses his A1. All right, so he stuns, he does slow, he reduces turn meter, he does a lot of incredible things. And lifesteal seemed to work great. I originally built him in regen. I did a video on that, and then somebody in my a subscriber of mine commented on that video and said, hey, I bet you he could do it in lifesteal. So I said, you know what, challenge accepted. And yep, he sure does. So a very big shout out to him. The beauty of this is you can get lifesteal so much earlier than you can regen. Regen you have to farm from Fire Knight, and everybody's farming lifesteal for clan boss anyway. So it's either while you're, still using it for clan boss, or once you've kind of graduated out of lifesteal for clan boss, you can start using that gear that you farmed for other things. Solo champions are great for that. Some of them need to be in regen. One like Nethril, who can use Giant Slayer, and he's using, these multi-attacks the whole time. These AoE attacks, he's stunning people, he's doing stuff like that. It actually works great in lifesteal, even better than regen. Now, you may have noticed when you go to my subscription page that it is now called Zak Gacha Back. I'm rebranding instead of being Clan Boss. I thought it was a very fun name, but it won't extend past Raid Shadow Legends. So if this game ever dies, I really don't want to have that be the name that I bring into the next game. But yeah, and I'm also doing dislike content as well right now. Not as seriously as I am Raid, but it's a fun new game that's out, and it's very similar to Raid. Now, as you can see, this is not the fastest run. This is something you'd run overnight. If you're manually pushing the button, this probably wouldn't be the one for you. But being able to level food while you're getting this gear is incredible. That's really important. You can double dip in tournaments. There's a lot of benefits to this as well. Even though Nethril is by no means free-to-play friendly, he's a legendary. You have to be very lucky to pull him. If you are lucky enough to pull him, lifesteal is the way to go, and you can get that early on. He was actually one of the first legendaries I got. Maybe was the very first, although I think Yannicka was, and she was terrible at the time. So I think he was at least the first one that I built. It was either him or Altan. And, the fact that later on, much later, I was able to create this comp, I'm very proud of it, by the way. Solo champions are very sought after, and to be able to provide one to the community, I felt really good about that. And even better that I was able to provide one that used lifesteal instead of regen, so that, hopefully players can use this earlier in the game. All right, so we get to the dragon kind of late. This one took longer than usual. We're almost at 5 minutes already, but you'll see how quickly he takes down the dragon now. He just lays tons of poisons. He's getting resisted more often, or denied more often than I would expect him to. Quite often he's got like 8 stacks up by now. He should be landing about 2 out of 3 as he does this, or between 1 and 2 every single turn. Sometimes you just get unlucky, but it is enough to take the dragon down pretty quickly. It'll still be around 5.5 minutes. And last time I did this, in fact, I was just recording and forgot to press the record button. He didn't get stunned on any of these. He took down the dragon before, that purple could stun us. So anyway, a little over 5.5 minutes this time. Sometimes it's just under 5 minutes. Just depends on how lucky you are with those A1s and the stuns earlier in the round and things like that. But, even at 5.5 minutes, if you're running this overnight, unless you're using a crazy amount of energy, this is, going to work out just fine for you. All right, I've got him in Immortal and Lifesteal, and he does have this counterattack accessory that's helpful, but it's not necessary. It's like 5%, so it's not like a game changer. He's literally only at 45,000 health and under 3,000 defense. The important ones are the resist and the accuracy. So Those are important so that he's not getting a ton of poisons landed on him. If you get really unlucky and the dragon lands just tons of poisons, it could kill him or get him low enough to get one-shotted. So you don't want that. His crit rate, I've got it 99%, although I don't have a ton of crit damage on him. I only need this at 85%. I just didn't have the gear to dial that back and gain something somewhere else. I'd love more crit damage and be at 85% because when you are positive affinity, so going up against red while you're green, you get an extra 15% crit rate and the enemy gets 15% less. This is really, really important to understand because the dragon only has 15% crit rate. Those guys in the wave only have 15% crit rate. Since they're all the same affinity, you can run green against red and nobody can crit against you ever. And if you're at 85%, you're going to crit like every single time. Going into the masteries, the important ones, Master Hexer, that's going to extend the debuffs, including the poisons. It's not going to extend the stun. I've got Giant Slayer. Most champions you solo with are going to be War Master, but since he has a triple hitter on his A1 and he's hitting like 5 champions at a time with those AoEs, Giant Slayer actually makes a lot of sense. The other important ones are, I mean, they're all important, follow it closely, but the other really key ones, the increased speed for every enemy you kill. So make sure that you're killing enemies on the way to the bosses with these guys. And then the other one is increased speed with every dead ally. So you bring the food in, they die, you get 24 more speed. So between the two of them, that's an extra 42 speed. That makes a big difference, especially in this build when I only have him at, so he gets 42 on top of this. So we end up at like, what would that be? 220, 231 speed. So, you know, a big jump in speed. And here are the skills that we used. So the A1 hits 3 times and has a 30% chance of placing a poison. This goes up to 50% chance. So you're hoping to land at least 2, at least 1. Sometimes you literally land none and sometimes you land 3. So at 50% chance, you know, you still have a chance of not landing them, but you do land them quite often. And then you've got the stun and the decreased speed. This is an incredible move. You're stunning them, you're slowing them. It's fantastic. It's at a, it's a 75% chance. So it's not at 100% chance. So the beauty of this ability is you're stunning a lot of them, not all of them. And those you don't stun, you're putting decreased speed on. So they're not going to be able to attack you as often. So then you've got Bat Swarm, the A3, that can decrease their turn meter by 75%. So if they're at 100, brings them back down to 25%. If they're at 75, it brings them back down to 0. You can't go past 0, I don't believe. So if they're at 50, it'll just go to 0. The other good thing about him, he does hit pretty hard. If you can stack more crit damage than I did, he'll take this stuff down much quicker. So that is Nethril. And then let's move into our next champion that is going to solo the same dungeon. And don't worry, these are not all going to be for dragon. I've got stuff for multiple areas of the game here. But the next one, and we'll do level 25 again. This one does not need presets. I learned this one from Chosen. So this was my first solo champion for the dragon. And, you know, it was a game changer. All of a sudden, I always had food for my champions. I always had, ways to gain points in tournaments while I was kind of double dipping. So I'd be running the dragon, and then I'd also be doing a champion training if they coincided with each other. And, you know, it just made the game so much easier to play. Again, he's green affinity. This is red affinity. So, you know, they have no chance to crit against him. He's much faster. He was a Vault Lord, and then I don't think we realized how good he was. I definitely didn't. I was looking at him going, God, I think he's really good. But I had Nethril, I had Occult Brawler, I had like 4 Poisoners, and they were all green affinity. So I was like, I'm not going to build him for anything. But he does. He comes in and slays. He's very quick at this. He gets it more around like that 2-minute mark. maybe like 220, something like that usually. And what you'll notice is as they get below 50% hit points, he starts reducing their turn meter. That actually slows this down a little bit. If he wasn't fully booked, I think this would actually go a little faster. But back before his buff, having him fully booked really helped. So I did book him, and now I kind of wish after that you were allowed to decide, do I take the books off of this guy and reclaim them? They're way too valuable to just get rid of. All right, got to the dragon in 1:44. And you'll see he will get stunned. He doesn't put enough poisons to actually get it down below the bar. If you make him even faster and you make him hit even harder, then I think you can avoid it. But the good news is, with how I've got him built, as sturdy as he is, he never dies anyway. So this is still 100%. Once in a while, he gets enough poisons out there to get the purple if the timing's just right. But usually it doesn't. He has 232 speed, so I've got him quite a bit quicker than Nethril. That's one of the reasons Nethril can be in lifesteal. I have not tried Tomb Lord in lifesteal. I'm not sure if he can do it or not. I've got him over 50,000 hit points and at 2,700 defense. I've got him at 85% crit rate. Again, you know, because he's strong affinity, that's all he needs to crit 100% of the time. I wish I could put more crit damage into him, but I couldn't. I've got him over the 325 resist, and I've got him as close to the 215 accuracy as I could get him. This stuff's all very important, and it coincides with the masteries. Again, I've got the speed for those that of our allies that die. I've also got the speed for every enemy that we kill. That again adds up to about 42%. Master Hexer again, War Master for him, and the other stuff may be less important, but still very important. I would copy this completely if you're planning on doing this build, and definitely, look at Chosen's video for more details. But the way he does it, his A1, he's decreasing their speed, lands pretty much every time because it's a triple hitter, but it's only on one enemy. But it still helps. The poisons that he puts out there when he crits, which is pretty much every time, he's putting 4 poisons out there. That's insane. And he's doing it for 2 turns. And then also on his A3, he's decreasing the turn meter of all enemies by 50, or that have less than 50% hit points, by 100%. And then he's also decreasing their attack and their defense. What a kit. This is incredible. So that is Tomb Lord, my favorite solo champ for the dragon. It's very, very fast. But again, if you're in an earlier part of the game, I would definitely go with Nethril if you have them. All right, next we'll move on to the Spider. This is a quick solo. It goes pretty fast. Don't do level 25. I've done that before. I've burned a ton of energy on accident doing that. Like 1,000 energy overnight. Woke up with 0 gear to show for it. It felt awful. But here we are, believe it or not, and it looks like nothing's happening at the beginning. The spider's gonna like heal all the way back up to full. You're gonna be like, is this even gonna work? I've used the presets and tried to set it so that he would, freeze all these spiderlings sooner, and he'd be freezing all of them. I don't know why he doesn't use it sooner, but when I set the presets to do that, it actually took longer, and I don't know why. I couldn't explain it to you. But here is where it gets interesting. He's got it on all the spiderlings, and now is when he goes through and freezes. Apparently, he needs to have it on all the spiderlings to do that, and he needed to have triggered the first 2 skills maybe of the main spider. I'm not sure why. But the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, this is going to take a long time. And then all of a sudden, a minute 25-ish rolls around and he's got them all dead. So this one was from Tyraku Raid, the one who came up with this. So big shout out to him. Go watch his video. I won't get too in depth on this, but Crypt King was a Vault Lord for me. I got like 3 of him, and I'm not a whale. So this was pretty huge for me that all of a sudden I've got this champion that can solo, the spider that I had been dreading pulling all of these copies of, and all he was doing was filling out the dupe system for me. So very, very cool that this happened. Thank you, Tyraku Raid. And of course, Spider is the best silver farm in the game. So to be able to level up these champions while farming that silver, that's incredible.
So Crypt King Graal is in, again, you know, immortal and regen. And we've got him, I think this is the most important part, are the stats you get him in. So we've got him over 60,000 HP. His defense is at 3,000. And, you know, really the crit rate and crit damage don't matter. In fact, if he nukes down the spiderlings, that's not necessarily a good thing. His resist, again, is over that 325 threshold. And his accuracy is at 364. So it's enough accuracy to land the debuffs. It's enough resist to keep him from stacking all those poisons from the spiderlings. And, you know, of course, he's kept alive by this gear here. How does it work? In his skills, we've got decrease attack on his A1. This is important for the spider boss. You don't want him to hit you so hard that he kills you, of course. He attacks all enemies with HP burn. This is after the buff. Before the buff, it didn't do this. And so that's important. You've got the spiderlings taking down the spider. And then eventually he comes through with this one where he places a freeze debuff on each target for 1 turn if they're under HP burn. So important that this one is booked out completely. That's the most important one. You get the cooldown down, but also you want to have that 100% chance to apply the burn. And that way you'll get all the spiderlings. The rest of them, and I really lucked out. 2 books for these 2, you know, total. And then got this one completely booked out. So very lucky on that one. Usually it doesn't go that well. His masteries. So for his masteries, we went down to Retribution. This is, I can't even see it being that important. The Leech only comes into play when he's got the freeze on, so that one's really not that important either. I'm not sure anything in this defense tree is that important except for getting, you know, a little extra defense. All right, so down this tree, he's got the accuracy. You know, of course, he reduces turn meter once. It's only going to work 1 time. And then Master Hexer to extend the debuffs. It won't extend freeze, but it will extend the burns and the decrease attack as well. So extra speed here for each dead ally. So the food you bring in gives him extra speed again. This one increases the turn meter for every debuff that he casts. So it's up to 10% per turn. So pretty strong for this. I'm not sure if any of this is nearly as important as the masteries are on the other solo champions that we've mentioned. I'd be interested to see if anybody ran it without masteries to see if he would still do the job. Some of these seem helpful, but I don't know that any of it seems like crucial or necessary. Okay, so that's Crypt King Graal. Man, that is a very difficult name to say.
I wonder why they don't have any gold in this game. They just go silver. Is that like a Ukrainian thing? I have no idea. Maybe silver is just really huge there. So the next one is for soloing the Scarab Boss in Doom Tower. Urost the Soulcage. I don't remember who I learned this one from. Forgive me. It was a very long time ago. I've got him in regen and immortal. I think these stats are overkill. I've got like 100,000 hit points. I don't think you need that many. 3,000 defense, almost no speed because he doesn't need it. And then a ton of accuracy, which you do need for Doom Tower, and then resist at 229. I can't remember if the resist mattered or not. But this works perfectly fine. That, you know, who I think I learned this one from first might have been through Murder Inc. It was somebody in his clan that figured it out. Anyway, in his skills, the way that it all works, I think it's just the passive. And then that other stuff might help him stay alive, but mainly the passive. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. So, and that chance goes up to 75%. So then included in this passive, every poison that goes off on the enemy also heals him and decreases their max HP, which, as we know, is a big thing for the Scarab Boss. So pretty quickly after these are going off, the Scarab Boss gets completely nerfed, because as soon as you decrease the max HP of the Scarab down to a certain point, then it weakens the Scarab. So he's not hitting you as hard and a whole bunch of other things. So the main thing is that these poisons are what takes down the boss and also what keeps you alive. Pretty incredible that somebody figured that out. And again, here's the masteries. I don't know how important they are. Master Hexer is the most important one, obviously. And then this Evil Eye gives you a higher chance of placing those poisons. And then also, of course, War Master. Looking at his artifacts, again, he's in regen. I don't think he ever gets low health with the build that I have, but he's built pretty strong. 102,000 hit points, 3,000 defense. All right, the next one is also going to be for Doom Tower. This one is for Bommel. So Crimson Helm. Before Crimson Helm, I was extremely frustrated with Bommel. Every champion almost that I have built reduces turn meter on when they hit an enemy for the first time. I did not want to have to redo everybody's masteries to get rid of that. It's amazing in arena. It's amazing in dungeon waves. And then they're like, oh, by the way, when you put them in against Bommel, you have to completely change their masteries. So not fun at all. So I was really frustrated with that. Didn't want to do it. And then I watched, I think it was Stu Gaming. He had read something on Reddit about this, and then he did it. And the way it works, which is pretty incredible, it's these two moves that matter. This one first, right before the two bombs that Bommel puts down next to him, right before they go off, sometimes it's 3, you put this block damage up. So right when there's a sliver of turn meter left on those bombs, you put the block damage up, those go off. Then Bommel's going to attack you right away. It'll hit hard, but if you're sturdy enough, you'll survive it. And sometimes he'll put bombs on you. When he does that, and when you have 2 of them on you, you can do it when you only have 1 as well. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you put the revive on death on. And this will then, when they kill you, or if they kill you, you will revive right away, and you'll be right back in to go into your A1s again. So you A1, and then you do those things. The trick is, at least with this build, you've got to kill a few of the champions on the way to Bommel with Crimson Helm. And then you also need all of those champions to die that you bring with you prior to getting to Bommel. So if you get there with Bommel, it'll throw the turn meter off and it won't work very well. You know, those champions are going to bring bombs out early, things like that. It just screws the whole thing up. So I would just, try to make sure they all die. If they don't and you get to them, just restart it. Do it as quickly as you can. It can take you a while to get through the waves, because if you build people too strong, she's not going to be able to kill enough to get these bonuses. And these are the bonuses. If you do this yourself, your own way, and you make her 42 speed faster, then you don't have to worry about that. You could just bring her in alone, or, with food, and, let them die right away. But you want to make sure, again, you get the increased speed from both this one and this one. So those are really important. These other ones are all also good with the skills that she has. This one brings your health back up, things like that. You want to make sure you have War Master. That's how you're taking down Bommel, and it takes a while. This is not fast, but having to do it once every 3 months, or a couple times every 3 months, was much better than having to, redo all the masteries on all these champions. So I did not do that. The artifacts, again, regen and immortal, kind of sensing a theme here. Her, I think you do have to have her over 70,000 hit points, and you want her defense pretty high as well. I think she's defense based. I'm not sure. I would love it if she had 100% crit rate. Without taking apart my other solo champions, I couldn't do that, but that would be great. It would be great to get crit damage. You don't need accuracy. So then the resist, you've got that over the 225 threshold. You're not going to get bombs on you every time that Bommel would put them on you, because you're resisting it most of the time, but there's a 3% chance no matter what. And if you have this, I can't remember if this was the right amount of resist or not, but you're at least resisting them a lot of the time. But just make sure you put that revive on death on you if you end up with those bombs on you. So That's the key there. But you know, go watch Stu's video on that if you want more details. That's Crimson Helm. Fantastic way to get through Bommel. All right, back to soloing the dungeons. This one works on stage 23. I don't run him by himself, and I usually don't run him on this stage. I'll do like level 25, but I'll bring Santa Claus, or I'll do level 20. I don't farm Ice Golem much. If this is something you like to farm, this will be more important. But level 23 is where he does this. And because he's placing a lot of these things, the reflect damage doesn't kill him. Nethril did not work here because he's hitting over and over again with those AoEs. And when they have the reflect damage up, he was wiping on the AoEs. So Nethril didn't work for this one the way Tomb Lord does. Running them both together works great. Richtof the Bold is another one that can join them. Like I say, Santa Claus is a good one because he pretty much just keeps him unkillable the whole time. There's quite a few champions you could run with him. A Duchess, anybody who, you know, makes sure to keep people healed and healthy. I'm not sure he survives this every time, though. That's why I usually run it with more than just him. I do want 100%, you know, completion. I'd be, you know, at least if it's at the cost of adding one more champion in here, even having one food champion with you through all these dungeons can be very valuable. You're running them anyway, and if you're running them overnight, you're not watching it, so you don't really care how fast it is. Although this is decently fast for Ice Golem. It's really hard to get fast times on Ice Golem. I do think he's going to do it again. So maybe I stand corrected. Maybe Tomb Lord is the solo guy for Ice Golem. But if he's not, what he is he's really close to it. So, you know, have somebody in there to either keep him alive or, you know, also do damage. What you don't want is to nuke down the Ice Golem so fast that he does that super powerful attack on you and takes you out while those two ads are up. So if you bring him down using poisons, I don't believe it triggers it. But if, you know, you had, say, you brought like Rotos with him or something like that, Rotos brings him down, and then he does that big powerful attack, he'd probably wipe you. So the key about level 23, they can't crit against you. This still is the case for this Ice Golem. Again, under 3 minutes, not a bad time for Ice Golem. It's really hard to get fast times on Ice Golem. And again, that's Tomb Lord. So you've already seen his skills and masteries. Now, the keeps, I believe they're all soloable. But usually when I'm doing it, you know, I'm doing it like once a month, once every couple months, something like that. Those level 20 dungeons really, really help. The drop rates are so much better than level 15 was for the first like 2.5 years that I was playing. So soloing isn't super important on them. Minotaur, as soon as you can get down to less than 5 champions running through Minotaur, do it. The fewer you can have, the better. And pretty early on, you'll be able to do it. I think even Kale could do it. If not, it was like Kale and a healer or something like that. But let's just, who's somebody I might use at some point? Try to at least get a mastery or two. All right, I don't think she has all her masteries. If so, I'll stand corrected. But Tayrel is fantastic. You can run 4 with him so that they all get, you know, their benefits from it. Or you can just run 1 with him so you can get their masteries as quickly as possible. But you'll see with him, he's putting decreased defense down. He's sleeping them. He's doing decreased attack. And then he's hitting them super hard as well. And he's defense based. So there's just, I think they're able to once in a while freeze him if he gets 3%ed. And when that happens, his health gets kind of low. But I've still never seen him lose a single round. Not like I'm watching the whole time I'm doing Minotaur, but she's the wrong champion to bring. She's supposed to die. I should not have brought her. But you get the idea. Tayrel's just tearing these people apart. And she's slowing us down quite a bit because she's supposed to die right away. Instead, she's getting all these turns. I don't have her. Oh, I do have her in stone skin gear. I was like unleveled stone skin gear. I was trying to do an experiment that failed miserably. That is the other reason that she's not dying. But I think usually by now the Minotaur is dead. So, you know, maybe she didn't slow it down too much, but I think a minute to a minute 20 is what he usually does it in. He was my first actual like solo champion, I think. And it's very, very cool. Once you can get to soloing the Minotaur, that makes the most XP possible go into your champions that you're farming the skills for. So she got her skills, but she also got XP at the same time. So that's fantastic for that. So Tayrel, lifesteal and immortal. So very similar to the build of Nethril. His artifacts, he's only at 42,000 hit points. His defense could be higher. It's under 4,000. I think I had it around 6,000 at one point. I keep robbing gear from him and rebuilding him, but he still gets the job done, so I don't care. 190 speed, but you'll see again, he's going to get that 42 speed from the Masteries. I've only got him at 74% crit rate. You don't really need to go crazy against the Minotaur. Ideally, this would be at 100%. It would make the speeds more reliable. It would probably be right around a minute, maybe just over every round. And then, you know, the crit damage you'd like high. And again, he's defense based, so you make him sturdy while you make him strong. So that's really good. I didn't worry about resist and accuracy. You need strong enough to land on the Minotaur. This is at 260. I assume that was necessary. What skills does he have? These are amazing skills for soloing, especially if you're not going to have poisons. This is the way to do it. Attacks one enemy 2 times, which is great. So it's a 2-hitter, and it puts decrease attack down. Not at 100%, of course, because it's an A1. And then this one as well. All enemies, 100% chance for decreased defense. And then if the target is under decreased attack, he's going to sleep them for 1 turn. So that helps as well. You're not getting attacked as often. These are all defense based, of course. And again, he attacks 1 enemy and has the chance, he's going to decrease their turn meter. And then if he decreases it enough, he's going to stun them. So that can help as well. And again, that hits really hard. And then he's got this increased allied defense in all battles by 25%. And of course, you'll put him in the leader spot, so that'll work. In this case, the Minotaur is void affinity. So the Minotaur can crit against you. That's why somebody like Tayrel is really good. He's built really sturdy, so you don't have to worry about those crits killing you. And then in the Masteries, Master Hexer, of course, extend those debuffs. It won't extend the stun, but it will extend the others. And, you know, Evil Eye to land the decreased attack more often. You've got War Master, of course, as always. And then the one that decreases their turn meter helps a lot as well. I wouldn't worry too much about the rest. Follow these if you can. There are some other ones that you saw where you could, you know, make up for speed the way that I made up for speed with the other champions. So you could mix and match with those a little bit. He's a little easier to build because Minotaur's not too tough and he's defense based. So he survives pretty easily. All right, so that's Tayrel. And the last one I'm going to go over is my campaign farmer, really only because I love this guy. I've been using him for a really long time and he's fantastic. So Big Un, fantastic in Hydra, fantastic in Arena, fantastic as a campaign farmer. I just used him in my Arena build and tested him out, and he was a 7-second farmer. So show it one more time. It's just a thing of beauty. Hit, and then a slap and a tickle. I mean, it's a thing of beauty. You gotta love it. So there we are. Those are all my solo champs that I can think of, at least. I hope this was helpful. I hope this sparks some ideas in you on who you think could solo. If you have any ideas, somebody that you think would be a good solo champion, especially if they're an epic or a rare and you've never seen them used as a solo champion before, I would love to test it out for you. That way you can save the gear and, you know, I'll get some content to put on here. So I love helping out the community that way. This is a fantastic community. It's a lot of fun doing this. And anyway, I'm going to post those 2 Nethril solo videos, one in regen and one in lifesteal. So, you know, of course, check those out for more details. And don't forget, I'm rebranding. Clam Boss is going to be Zak Gacha back.
I'm a top dog on a stat sheet. Off court, but I call plays for the athletes. When the cop cars try to catch me, cause I rolled off in a taxi. Put my feet up, I'm relaxing. Singing Figaro with no accent. While I pull strings from the streets in. Do it all with a straight face, I'm the kingpin.